Good afternoon and welcome to today's edition of The Buzz on Galaxy Television. It's a lovely Wednesday afternoon and it's the 4th of April 2018. Thanks for joining us on the show. My name is Patience Bilokafo. Alera is here as well. Good afternoon, Alera.
Good afternoon, Patience. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Great to have you here.
Okay, a beautiful Wednesday afternoon to you all. Then you're on to the Authentic TV program where we get to give you what's trending on social media.
That's right.
As it breaks.
I like the authentic word.
You know, yes, because we do our findings. No, we do our findings. Yes.
Okay, welcome to the show. All right, remember you can join us via our social media portals on the program today.
Yes, using the hashtag The Buzz on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Galaxy TV, and also on Twitter at official Galaxy TV, knowing that you could get to watch previous editions of the program via our YouTube channel, which is Galaxy TV Nigeria.
Yes, that's right. And of course, the number to send an SMS to is right there on the screen. You can send only SMS, please. SMS only. All right, let's quickly introduce our guest on the show this afternoon. Well, unfortunately, we just have one person here yet. The second person we hope will join us in a bit. Joining us today is someone we respect so much, and his views are quite articulate, which is why we keep bringing him back. He's the general manager for Kiss FM. It's a pleasure to have Mr. Ayodele Kazim with us on the show today. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for bringing me back.
Yes,
it's a pleasure.
We always like bringing you back. All right, we're still expecting activist and also social analyst Betty Abba on the show, and we hope she'll join us in the course of the program. All right, so let's go straight into the show for this afternoon. We're starting with the issue of disability in Nigeria. The Center for Citizens with Disabilities has called on President Muhammadu Buhari to sign the Nigeria Disability Bill into law without further delay. He said the bill was in consonance with the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. The bill provides for rights of persons with disabilities to have access to public premises, access to public buildings, access to road and sidewalk, protection against risk and humanitarian emergencies, as well as prohibition of using them to beg for alms. Also, the law provides for the right to free education, free healthcare, prohibition from segregation, right to work and employment, and provision of special communication at hospitals. All right, before we start talking about the plight of the disabled in Nigeria, let's quickly take this short footage. We'll be right back after that.
Over the years, there have been various attempts to get a disability bill passed into law as one way of addressing the plight of the disabled in Nigeria, but it has not seen the daylight. National President, Joint National Association of Persons Living with Disabilities, Ekaite Umo, however, believes that only legislation can bring about the change they desire.
Because of the absence of law protecting the rights of persons with disability in this country, they've not been able to fare well in what they are doing. And it's that kind of laws that will end up addressing the barriers like environmental barriers, architectural barriers.
The most common expression is that he who wears the shoe knows where it pinches most. For example, you may consider these stairs a piece of cake to climb, but for any person with a physical disability, it can be a mountain to climb. This, in a very small way, is the dilemma that confronts people living with disability in Nigeria. The peculiarity of people living with disability is seldom factored into the design of public buildings as well as public facilities. Even public utilities such as toilets in these buildings are seldom tailored to be friendly to the special challenges of this segment of the population. The situation same in major cities across Nigeria.
Some walkway are now, the car seller are now on the walkway, so it's not so proper. Overseas, when you want to cross the road, you see the pedestrian, you can see the sign, the blind cannot see the sign. But there are some things they put in there, like alarm. When you get there, you look for the alarm with your guide cane as a blind person, press the alarm so that the car coming will just stop. Immediately you press the alarm, definitely you know the road user, they have stopped. Then you cross the road. They have the security door built especially for those on the wheelchair abroad. where you can go with your wheelchair to go in. I have a friend that is on the wheelchair, that the mates have to carry him with the wheelchair to go to like third floor in one of the universities in Nigeria here.
Jibril Ismail Mohammed is an architect and he says the Nigerian Building Code, however, has specific provisions meant to address this.
All the designs that are being implemented in this town go through a regulatory body, pass a lot of checks, of which they all confirm that all these things have been taken care of before these designs are approved. During implementation, the stages at which you check what is to be done in the building. Most of these services, lifts, other things that you need to put to make a design universal, they are things that you do at the end product. And towards that stage, there's nobody checking it.
All right, welcome back. We just had to bring you that so that we can come to terms with how hard it is to be disabled in a country like Nigeria. Now, the Lagos State, which is where we are, does have a law, you know, for disability. But unfortunately, it's as good as there's no law, because we still see a lot of disabled people struggling every day. There's no inclusion, you know, in terms of when we build houses, or public buildings, or, you know,
stuff like that.
Anyway, Mr. Kazim, what's your take?
Well, when I saw this particular issue, for me, the first thing that came to mind was, I remember back in my days in school, I had a classmate, Suraj Popola was his name. He was blind, and people like me would have to read notes to him before he could. He used something like stencil to pin, you know, they have a paper where he would, you know, now as I read, I dictate.
They call it Braille.
Yeah, the Braille paper, thank you. So I dictate and Suraj, you know, writes all those things down. And then when it's exam time, he has to come in with a typewriter to type his own exam and all that. And he has to also be given, he's not given an extra time. He's given the same time as every one of us who are able and all that. And today he's a graduate, he served and all that. And now, I recall when I used to visit Unilag, there was a then popular guy, Lanre, who fought so hard for those who were disabled. And today I know he's somewhere better. The truth is that in Nigeria, most of all these laws they are talking about actually exist at some certain point and all that. But yes, like you rightly pointed out, at the end of the day, even when they now make the so-called law, or the president validates it and all that, yes, the House of Assembly has appended the law, it has passed all the readings and all that, it now remains the presidential assent. I beg you, who is going to help them implement these laws?
Okay, and I know that we as the able ones also have a fault, because if you get to Alausa, if you're going to Alausa, there is a parking space for the disabled. But you will still have to see the abled ones still wanting to park there.
That is the same thing. They said, okay, there is a saying that where there is no law, there is no order. Okay, but yes, where there is no law, where there is a law and there is no implementation of the order, it becomes still lawless. You see, a society, there are bound to be people who are deviants, who dissociate themselves from every written law that exists for humanity. They will never follow the law. And that is why those who are, that's why we have the existence of people who are law enforcers. So if every society or every organization has such a facility for disabled people, there is a necessity to enforce it. So you have to make provisions for people to, in fact, put signs and all that. Even here in Galaxy, if you come out, you will see no parking, no that. Yet some people will still go and park in those places. So it is a norm. It is all over. But you just have to provide those people to enforce it so that it becomes. That is why it is a law, and there has to be enforcement of the law. So if you don't enforce it, it just stays there and nothing happens.
And gathers dust.
Yes, and
all
that
right.
is the
You know, this particular law has actually passed 4 readings, you know, at the assembly, and I don't know why we're still stalling, you know, on the president, on putting the accents that it really requires, you know,
the Senate President Saraki recently, just I think February 28th, appended his own signature on behalf of the assembly, and he said within 30 days he will pass that bill to the presidency. And you know that even the president himself has so many responsibilities. It takes time. He has to get his own legal people to look at all the necessary implications and some of the nitty-gritty of whatever the law says. I, for one, picked out one part of it, which is participation in politics. You did not read that. I must tell you, it is going to be very, very difficult for a deformed person to participate in politics or be an office holder. Me and you in Nigeria know that. Let us be factual today. Let's not deceive ourselves.
But what is that? Is it about
the mentality that we have?
God bless you.
Is
Yes, people will be sentimental. That how can somebody who is, I don't like, for me, a disability, for me, the word using disabled feels inferior to me, you know, when you use that word. You know, I did prefer physically challenged people. Because you see, in these people, they have what you call some sort of inner strength that defines them. You can see somebody who is actually blind doing things, even you, a physical, who is, you know, you can see clearly and all that, you might not even be able to decipher. You know, they are so many innate strengths they have that makes them even better than a full-blooded, you know, capable human being. So physically challenged people, for me, the sentimentalism of the fact that how can somebody who is not so complete now say will come and occupy an office when even somebody who is complete is not able to deliver, you know. So those many sentiments will come in. And remember, being an office holder has a lot of challenges. You have to be in so many places at so many times. You have to follow a schedule. You have to move around, do some certain things. And at the end of the day, look at what is happening today now. People are complaining that apparently the president might not be able to come back, you know, as president again. He hasn't even traveled yet. They've just hinted us that, okay, we're going to go and rest for a while. Everybody this time around is like, no way, not again. You know, you can't go on medical tourism all over again and spending our money and all that. So it takes a lot of, it's going to be very, very challenging.
All right, but let me take you up on that issue of participation in politics and all that. First of all, I do not agree. I don't share that sentiment, you know, because somebody is not able-bodied, the person cannot deliver, or I don't share that sentiment. So, and I know that there will still be like a few of people like me who will not look at how somebody looks to decide whether or not they can, you know. True. And first of all, I think one of the Southwest governors,
actually appointed
has
someone,
a disabled person as an essay.
As what?
An essay. That is a step.
As a special assistant,
yes,
right?
that is a step.
Now, the office of the essay, if we go into the nitty-gritty of what does an essay do, you yourself, I don't even want to go that far. Let's just use example. As at now, we've not even completed or, you know, gone out of the aspect of feminism. How many women are there in politics? Let's not now go into...
I get what you mean.
Physically challenged individuals. It's going to take a while. I'm not against it. I'm only saying, is our society ready for it? Okay. We must look at what our society portrays. We must look at the kind of environment we're in. There are so many things Nigeria by now ought to have achieved, but we just have all those deficiencies glaring at us in the face.
Like, I understand what Patience is trying to say, because now, for example, in the music scene, we have co-bands. So in which, if someone is actually blind or deaf or something, the person can as well still have hope in doing music. Now, let's talk about sports. They've actually not been supported in terms of the physical challenge.
And still they do very well.
And they do very well
at the Paralympics. Yes, that's true. They deliver more than those of us that
so is it just the mentality thing that is just running in our blood? Or
let me add to that. It's the mentality which has to change, like you rightly said, Mr. Kazim, which is why I think a couple of years ago there was a campaign as to the media people changing the lingua that we use in describing people with disabilities. First of all, you don't call them disabled anymore. You call them physically challenged. If they are blind, they are visually impaired, you know, and all that. So I think that's a step. First of all, let's change the way we even refer to them. And then for Christ's sake, Nigerians, if you touch someone who is disabled, nothing bad will happen to you. I think I heard that while I was growing up. That if you touch an arrow, something will happen to you.
No, you know, the main thing has to do with...
That's all a lie. It's all false.
Patience, the main thing has to do with orientation. Because like I was just telling you, even at the Alausa Park, there were the elderly men there, they were telling you to, don't worry, madam, go and park there. Go and park. But you yourself, you're seeing the sign that I cannot... Do you understand? So someone else might as well just get a seat and as well just get a park.
And you know, I'm happy. One of the banks here on Allen, you know, they just refurbished their building. And they have a ramp. Now, you know, you can actually access the building with your wheelchair. And I'm always excited every time I pass by and I see that. At least someone on a wheelchair, you can go into the bank yourself. You can use the ATM. You know, you don't have to be totally dependent on. And besides, we need to mention the fact that you have your 2 legs today don't mean tomorrow you might have them. So you never know what life is going to throw at you.
What goes around?
Yeah.
Comes around.
It comes around. All right, so we're going to wait and see how this bill. You have the last words on this.
Well, Nigeria should begin to see itself as a global nation. It should start imbibing the culture of ensuring that we practice what is known globally, and you know, give those amongst us who are challenged the opportunities, the ability to be able to also develop themselves.
Okay. And lastly, again, we need to learn how to obey signs. If we don't know, please tell someone to teach you. It's necessary. The zebra crossing, I'm sure some people probably just think it's just decoration on the streets.
NOA, National Orientation Agency.
You have a
We
job
have to call you out again. Yes. They're responsible for creating awareness for virtually everything. So this is your job. Anyway, according to the group that is clamoring for this bill to be passed, they're saying that Article 4 of the United Nations Convention mandates states to adopt all appropriate legislative, administrative, and other measures for the implementation of the rights recognized in the convention and to take all appropriate measures. While commending the National Assembly for passing the bill, the group urged the clerk of the National Assembly to transmit the bill to the president for accent. I think it's already been transmitted. We're just waiting for the president to do the necessary. All right, let's move on to our next topic. Obasanjo attacks Buhari again. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo on Monday called on President Muhammadu Buhari to stop giving Nigerians excuses, adding that the attitude was why he has not achieved results. The former president advised Buhari to buckle down, saying he was presently a failure. Let's take that footage. We'll be back to talk.
An ineffective and incompetent government, we are all victims. And don't let anybody deceive you. Those of you who are in business, your business will have been better today if we have a competent and effective and performing government. It will have been. As I said, giving excuse, we met many challenges. Now, if there are no challenges, then you wouldn't need to come. Huh? If there are no challenges, you don't need to come. And you come in because you know that there are challenges. And then giving us excuse that you have many challenges, that's why you haven't achieved result. And then you still want to go. The first lesson I learned in my military training is never reinforce failure. What we have now is failure. Never you reinforce it. Never you reinforce failure. Let failure be failure. I'm gone. And if you do not see what you should see, you will then be a victim of what you don't like. Because it's only when you see what you should see and you do what you should do that you put away what you do not like. If you don't see what you should see and you don't do what you should do, you will be a victim of what you don't like.
Back. That was former President Olusegun Obasanjo advising Nigerians in that short clip. Mr. Kazim, over to you.
Well, for me, the personality of Obasanjo, we like it or not, is a respected personality both locally and internationally. The man today stands tall above all presidents in the whole world. We like it or not, the man is indeed a central figure in the whole of Africa. Whatever Obasanjo says today is valid anywhere. And then I'm going to look at this from a perspective of not even the personality giving us the message now, but the message in itself. We've all, I'm using Baba's exact words, be not deceived. Let nobody deceive you. My first military training is not to reinforce failure. Okay, let's assess the present administration. We all agree, yes, you've met challenges, yes, funds were stolen, yes, things have been going on wrong, blah, blah, blah. If things weren't going wrong in the first place, like Baba said, you wouldn't have been voted in the first place. So, yes, you've been voted in. Nigerians expect solutions. Nigerians expect development. Nigerians expect
results.
What you have promised them, because you actually promised to fulfill some obligations. And today, I, in my own ramification as a journalist, first, would not castigate the administration and say they've totally failed. No. But it lies on the fact that in a civil society, you must, as an entity called the president of a nation, achieve some certain objectives for the people or the citizenry. Food, water, shelter, clothing, they say are the basic essentials of life. If you have failed in those, in fact, security.
I was going to mention that.
If you failed in ensuring that the citizenry have all these things, you yourself should be able to assess yourself and say, have I passed or have I failed? And tell yourself the whole truth. I am somebody who handles a program where the citizenry get the opportunity to say it as it is. To
vent.
Every day. Not to vent. Say it as it is, and then provide solutions. The honest feedback is that all is not well. So, and each one of us can also look at ourselves in the face without bias every day and say, my neighbor, how far?
All is not well. All right.
You know, so, and we can now conclude that truly all is not well. And has it been this bad too? No. It's been like it's getting worse. And we have promises, words, no action. That in itself, you know, angers the people a lot. It terrifies me at times, and I keep asking myself, yes, there are so many people who seem to be incompetent in the government by virtue of the things we see daily. Let's take our security for example. It is so obvious, it is in our face. How can you tell us our military is in a particular state, yet in that state we record bombings like every other day, and we say we have military presence? How can we as a country have a recurrence of kidnapping of our female children, for crying out loud, twice? How can we be in a city and people go to our children's secondary school and kidnap them.
In broad daylight.
In broad daylight. How can we be in our environment and we don't feel safe walking around? People kill and maim and destroy human life every day.
Can we even talk about the quality of life?
And then,
That's been
you know, it's so scary that you ask yourself whether we have a government in control. And then they tell us, yes, they are working on unemployment and all this, but we still have so many jobless youths all around. And I keep asking myself, who are those who really benefit from all these projects they said they're put in place? It now took a Bill Gates to come to Nigeria to come and actually say, look, Nigerians, I'm sorry to say this, but hey, Mr. President or Mr. Vice President, these so-called programs you said you have aligned for your people will not empower your people. And then we have a governor giving excuses. I don't want to say, I don't believe in you castigating someone because you feel he's a foreign person or because you feel, okay, probably he's just a businessman. Yes, we all know that government policies must have a physical face or what you call a human face. But indeed, when we look at all the facts as they are, and we realize that indeed these things would not work, it is better to tell ourselves the home truth. And if there's a government that you have a problem with listening to the truth, then indeed you will end up in the gallows. People will, at the end of the day, whether by hook or crook, send you out of office.
Okay. All right, now let's talk about, because then, way back, we had always heard of closed-door meetings. It's not always in the open. There's always, you hardly get to see open letters back to back, if you know what I'm talking about. Do you think Nigerians are actually wiser? Because I asked Kesulu yesterday, do you think Nigerians are wiser with all what Baba is saying and with all what's going on right now?
Well, for me, I always look at the landscape of Nigeria and realize that we are indeed divided in the lines of education and not being educated. Now, even some are educated, but they are not enlightened. All right, so don't get me wrong here. Now, in some of, if they had continued that clip, you will realize there is a place where Baba actually said that the grassroots need to be regrouped for them to actually understand and get ready for the next political elections. Now, one of the problems I have often seen that bothers me is the fact that every election year, the enlightened ones or the educated ones refuse to vote. And then we have our politicians taking advantage of the unenlightened and uneducated ones at the grassroots to vote. I can say this because I've seen it practically. I recall at the last elections, I worked from my own house to, I can't tell you how many kilometers where the voting booth is, just because I insisted I must vote. And then I realized that, yes, a large number of people who are actually on queue are the enlightened ones, they are the uneducated ones, but they are politically active more than those of us who are educated. And that's why it is time, if you don't, some people will now point accusing fingers and say, how come that, pardon me the use of the word, thug or riffraff become a governor or a chairman or a councilman. When you, the so-called educated person,
okay, if I may ask, why do you think the educated ones would want to like interfere into politics?
Well, I am afraid. I don't know what category or what the mindset of that person is. Apparently, some people don't like being stressed. One is our so-called electoral process of voting in the first place. Right now, there is a systematic measure going on of enfranchising people of their rights to vote because people are not getting their PVCs. Just yesterday, Governor Ambode was shocked at the fact that he realized that most Lagosians don't have their PVCs yet. It's in the news. And then...
Yeah, I saw that. In fact, there was even a map to show how few people...
But then Anne keeps telling us, so number of people. As at now, I still remember, it says Port Harcourt has the largest number of people who have collected their PVCs as at now, based on the report from INEC.
Okay.
So, and then At the end of the day, when it is now time to vote, I beg you. So when you did not register, now who will now come out and vote? And then you now have people who are not going to protect your political interest, who are not going to take care of the things you expect to be done in power, and you say you have a right to talk.
All right, let me butt in here. All right, remember the number you can send an SMS to is 0708 740758, SMS only. Now, first of all, I don't know if it's appropriate for me to mention the fact that Obasanjo was one of the staunch supporters of Buhari at the 2015 polls. He was one of those that, pushed him forward. And then just 3 years down the line, we see him, retracing his steps. 3 months ago, he wrote an open letter, that it ruffled a lot of feathers. And here we are again with a verbal attack, on the president, accusing him of causing and bringing a lot of hardship on Nigerians and all that. Do you think, because in your earlier statement, you mentioned the fact that Obasanjo is a force to reckon with, not just in Nigeria, but internationally, especially in our homegrown politics. Do you think that this kind of statements and letters and interference, if I'm to use that word, from Obasanjo can actually decide what outcome of 2019 elections will be?
Well, statements or no statements, opinion or no opinion, one of the bases or yardsticks of measuring or getting across to people globally or locally in reference to whether an election or not is opinion.
Okay.
And we all do opinion polls and all that, and we're trying to find out issues and all that. To tell ourselves the truth, yes, it may make or mar the 2019 elections.
Okay.
And remember that everyone has a right to a change of opinion or mindset.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, just hold the thought there. We'll come back to this discussion. We need to take a very quick break. We'll be back after the break. Stay with us. Meanwhile, maybe we'll play that clip again of Obasanjo's statement. We'll be right back.
An ineffective and incompetent government, we are all victims. And don't let anybody deceive you. Those of you who are in business, your business will have been better today if we have a competent and effective and performing government. It will have been. As I said, giving excuse, we met many challenges. Now, if there are no challenges, then you wouldn't need to come. Huh? If there are no challenges, you don't need to come. And you come in because you know that there are challenges. And then giving us excuse that you have many challenges, that's why you haven't achieved result. And then you still want to go. The first lesson I learned in my military training is never reinforce failure. What we have now is failure. Never you reinforce it. Never you reinforce failure. Let failure be failure. I'm gone. And if you do not see what you should see, you will then be a victim of what you don't like. Because it's only when you see what you should see and you do what you should do that you put away what you do not like. If you don't see what you should see and you don't do what you should do, you will be a victim of what you don't like.
All right, we welcome you back. We needed to take that break so our other guests could join us on the show. She finally made it here. Betty Abba, she's a renowned journalist, and she's an activist and also a social analyst. Thank you, Betty, for joining us on the show.
Thank you, and
Thank
my
you.
apologies.
It's all right.
Don't worry, we understand the traffic.
All right, before you got here, we've looked at the disability law in Nigeria. We'll let you have your say much later on the show, but for now, we're looking at Obasanjo's statement on President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. You want to say something quickly?
Yes. I think that in my view, Obasanjo is the most respected, most experienced, most articulate past leader we have, and one that should be taken very seriously. I don't think that the statement, the letter he has written in recent times and all of that is out of any selfish reason. It's because he has a duty as a former president, as a former head of state, as an elder statesman, to make commentary, to ensure that the country is stabilized. If he sees that his own country is going adrift and he's in a very, very important position, he occupies a very symbolic position in this country. So I think he should be taken seriously. We have a government which came to power preaching stability, and they've been a very destabilizing figure, especially the president. A party which came to power preaching employment. We've seen more Nigerians going unemployed under 3 years, more than any other.
Those that had jobs lost their jobs.
Yes, I think over 3 million, or is it how many? Was it up to 5 million? Not to talk about, you are not given new employment, and then people that have jobs are losing their jobs. And in Nigeria, if one person has a job, he's catering for between 10 to 15 family members. So imagine the ripple effects of all of that. And we have, especially the insecurity in the country. See the killings. And then there has not been any serious step to arrest this thing. Rather, we have accusations of the country, the government that's supposed to ensure the security of this country, backing homegrown terrorists. Whether those accusations are true or not is something else. But Nigerians are most unsafe more than ever before in my own lifetime. And so I believe that Obasanjo has a right. He occupies a position to make that statement, and everything he has said is true. We cannot reinforce failure. We've had failure for all I care in the last 3 years. And then there are steps, there are body languages all over to ensure that this administration continues. This administration, as far as I'm concerned, is a disaster. We have to call a spade what it is. We just have to move on, and we cannot allow a single person to hold an entire country to ransom. If you're not able to deliver, then you step aside. You've tried your best, and we applaud you. But you cannot hold us to ransom, especially if you see that you have nothing to offer, not much to offer, and you cannot ensure the stability. You are a very destabilizing figure. We cannot allow that. And I think Obasanjo is right.
Okay. All right, now let's talk about the epic. It was very, very brief. The response from the presidency. I'm sure you saw that. The epic response, yes, from the presidency.
Well, the major challenge for me with the present administration responding to its critics or to the nation in terms of when issues arise, somewhat is very, very funny.
Defensive.
People raise serious issues and allegations against you, and by the time you will come out with your own response or whatever you feel are your facts for your actions, it makes everybody begin to wonder what kind of administration we have. And it questions the integrity of our leaders a lot. And that's why when Baba said, when you have an ineffective and incompetent government, we are all victims. It's a big question mark hanging on whoever is the leader of the nation. It pictures and depicts those people who he surrounds himself with as questionable characters. It tells us that there is so much trouble in our land, and if care is not taken, Nigerians may be the ones to bear the brunt, which we're already bearing. So for me, each time all they keep responding to is trying to defend themselves and telling us what they think they have achieved. And for me, it is laughable.
Okay, because the response was actually that the assessment was not new. That was just in which a lot of people, I know a lot of people went online and it was just something else.
It was savage.
Yeah.
All right, Betty, before you go here, I asked Mr. Kazim if this kind of statements and open letters from Obasanjo, could actually affect the outcome of 2019 elections. Let me throw that question to you as well. What do you think?
I think so. Like I said earlier, Obasanjo occupies a very significant position in this country. And so his words, his assessments of the government of the day goes a long way to influence public opinion. So I think yes. And especially because they are true. This is a feeling of everybody. So for us, what I can say is that apart from his position as an elder statesman and a very intelligent one at that, I didn't used to be an Obasanjo fan. Obasanjo is not a saint, and that's why we don't have to always look at the messenger, but we just focus on the message. Is that to some extent we can say that he's even actually exploiting the mood of the moment. Majority of Nigerians are fed up. Majority of Nigerians are disenchanted, and that is just the reality. So he's not saying anything new, just like the presidency has said. But what is their own honest assessment of themselves? Okay, exactly. And if those things are not new, if the accusations are not new, what have they done to right the wrongs? Exactly. What steps have they taken? Because as far as I'm concerned, things are just getting from bad to worse. All right. I keep responding to everybody, keep being on the defensive. That's not the right attitude.
Okay, let's quickly look at the feedback platforms. Alhaja Nike Musa says, Obasanjo said the right thing. Things are very hard, no work for our children. This other one says, dear crew, we should as Nigerians applaud the good advice and awareness that the former president put across to all Nigerians to ponder on, for us not to make another mistake in 2019. The present government has no sense of direction. May OBJ live long, I believe in his advice. All right, Oluchi. Okay, please don't call this number, all right, because you just be interfering with the flow. Oluchi from Onitsha says, I support Obasanjo because in this century, I think you mean in this country, there is nothing like security. Look at Fulani headsmen are now using gun instead of their stick, killing people anyhow, anywhere, and Mr. President is doing nothing. It's totally wrong. Thanks. All right, and we have so many other feedbacks. I'm in support of what Obasanjo said. Everything just turned upside down. Too much of everything is bad. The truth is bitter, but we just have to say it. Okay, I think everybody is most especially on the same page on this particular issue. All right, we still have another topic we need to look at, and that is that Nigeria is to export 1,540 megawatts of electricity come the year 2025. Before we go into that discussion, let's take a funny social media break. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. All right, first off, those are actual masquerades, and just in case you didn't get the message in that video, they were dancing shaku shaku. We all know shaku shaku is the order of the day.
And when you think about masquerades,
are they not supposed to be spirits? That's what we were told growing up. Masquerades are spirits.
No, they're cultural.
How can a masquerade dance shaku shaku? I don't understand. Yes, now. Oh wow.
They are going with the flow.
Yeah, going with the flow of the country right now. Those are very current masquerades. Somebody on social media said they were imported from heaven. So they have holy inspiration. All right, let's move it along because of our time. Now, Betty, before you got here, we discussed the disability law in Nigeria, and I know that you are an activist and you're always championing the cause of people who are physically challenged, you know, and all of that. So in 2 quick minutes, let's have your contributions to that.
I think the most recent, thank you very much. I think the most recent development is that the House of Rep passed the disability law bill, and that was very, very impressive, commendable. And I understand that that will be the fourth time that it will be passed. So I don't know why the Senate has not followed suit, so that we can have a presidential accent, and then we'll start the whole hall, we'll go the whole log of talking about enforcement. Because Nigeria is signatory to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability. And Nigeria actually we don't need even to have any international convention to know that the people with disability among us need some form of sensitivity,
on inclusion.
That they need inclusion. You go to shows, comedy shows, and you have comedians making fun of children with disability, children with autism, children with Down syndrome. So we really need to have like a public consciousness on how to include people with disability. Don't imagine that when people have one form of disability or the other, they should be on the street begging. There are people that have all the rights that we have as human beings, and we should include them. You have public buildings. One of the things I understand in the bill is public buildings should have mobility access, so that people with wheelchair that cannot climb staircases or all of that can just drive in. At the airport, you don't even have anything like that in most public places. And then even in schools, there was something that happened about 2 years ago. A student of the Rivers State University of Science and Technology went to school and she forgot her hearing aid. She was in the registrar's office. Then they discovered that they needed to shout before she heard. And the registrar came out and said, this is not a school for people with disability. This is not a school for deaf and dumb. And the girl, she was a new student, she was expelled. Because that was a scandal of the highest order. Is there any university or higher institution for people with disability? Someone that just went deaf, somewhere along the line in her life, even if she were born deaf, and she aspires to get an education, you are denying her. And lawyers and activists, I was one of the persons that took it up before this girl was readmitted to the school. So it is so symbolic. It goes to show how we treat people with disability, because we think there shouldn't be part of us. We forget that anybody can become disabled. If you have an accident today and you have problem with your spinal cord, you're already disabled. I know at least 4 people that took a particular antibiotics because of typhoid, and they lost their hearing. That's a disability that you never planned for. Nobody plans for these things. So we really have to take conscious effort, make conscious efforts. You go to public meetings, crusade, convention, and then we are speaking from morning till night. People forget that there are persons in the congregation that cannot hear, and there's no form of sign language for them. We didn't just started it, and that
even on our news,
commendable.
On our news,
I know that there's a station that actually does that
the sign language
thing.
I think CNN does it now for the local station.
I know, in Nigeria, in Lagos State, there's a station that actually does it.
Sign language.
Because these people deserve to hear what's going on around them. People that are blind. I have a friend here, just give me some time, because his case is just so
I know
impressive.
you're very passionate about this.
Because we work with children with disability and we see these things all the time, and there's no preparation, no policy in place, nothing for them. I have a friend, his name is Prince. He's a writer. He was born in the UK and then came to Nigeria, I think Warri or Sapele. Then he had measles at the age of 6. and lost his sight, because it was not well, the case was not well treated. Then he came over to Lagos. He was in Lagos for about 15 years, practically living on the streets, because nobody had time to employ him. People were not even interested, nothing. Until about 3 years ago, House on the Rock, God bless their soul, noticed him. He's such a talented person, he writes poems and all of that. Then they got to know about him. They took him in, and then they placed him on an allowance. After some time, because he's a UK citizen, they sent him about 2 years ago. They sent him to UK. You know, he's in UK now studying law.
Wow. And
he's the first blind person to send me an email. And then when I send him an email, I'm on the phone with him, and the email I've forgotten the name of that device. He can hear it. He can hear the email. Since he cannot, we don't have that kind of thing here. And he would have died on the streets of Lagos if House on the Rock had not intervened. So imagine so many talented people in this same situation. They have disability allowance, they have bosses that carry them around, people that are blind, people that have mobility challenges. We should create that consciousness to be more embracing, to be more accommodating of people.
Very aptly said, really. But I wish we had more time to dwell on this, but we really have to move on. In fact, we have just like 2-3 minutes left of the show, and we just quickly, let's hear our views in 10 seconds each on the issue of Nigeria exporting electricity in 2025. Now, we're expected to increase the export to 2 neighboring countries, Niger and Benin Republic, to 1,540 megawatts by 2025. Presently, I think we have 387 megawatts. Mr. Yodele, quickly, in 10 seconds, what do you think?
Well, when I saw that report, for me, I don't want to sound like a broken drum, because some of the policies, it is good to be able to project, you know, for the future and plan ahead and all that. But then you come to terms with the situation on ground in the country, and you ask yourself, is this dream, is it feasible? Will it become a reality? Because right now you want to, yes, from time immemorial, you've been giving power to
the neighboring
Benin Republic, and Nigerians have been suffering at home. Okay, now you people have privatized power up till date. Not everybody has been given prepaid meter. You still have the problem of the Niger Delta. Your gas plants and everything is still situated.
All right, Betty, 10 seconds. We have to go. We get the drift.
It will be a miracle. Because I've stayed in Ghana and I've stayed in Benin Republic.
Quickly.
And they have regular electricity
than us that are giving them.
In fact, let me tell you something. I was doing a little job for the customs some years ago, and I discovered that the customs office in Seme don't use the light from Nigeria. They're used from Benin Republic.
Okay,
so it's the same.
I think we need to revisit this issue. We need to revisit. I don't know how a country that has power challenge is exporting in the first place.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Yodele. Bragging rights in there. All right, join us tomorrow at noon for another edition of The Buzz. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye for now.